Alright guys, it's 2023. Hope you had a good New Year's. I had a good New Year's. But today we're going to be getting into my top 5 most anticipated horror movies of 2023, so let's get into it. Pretty much today you're just going to be mostly seeing franchises and just kind of what we know is exactly coming out. We're definitely going to get our Barbarians or our X's, just our surprise hits that aren't on my radar right now, but they're definitely going to be making an appearance, and I have no doubt that we're going to have a lot of original surprises on my favorite at the end of the year. So first let's get into the honorable mentions. So this first one's pretty much one that would be my number 3 if I knew for sure that it's coming out this year, but just not enough information on it, and I'm not positive that it's coming out this year. So I'm gonna have Maxine, big fan of X, big fan of Pearl. I'm excited to see where it goes next, so hopefully we get it this year, but because I can't confirm that, I just don't feel like I can really put it on this list. Also, we got Renfield coming out. I'm a huge Nicolas Cage fan. I'm really excited to see what they do with kind of this horror comedy concept of Dracula's servant, so I think that there's a lot of fun to be had with that movie, and I bet we could get a good story out of it, especially if Nicolas Cage is involved, and I bet he's going to give a pretty batshit performance as Dracula, because last time he was in a vampire movie, we all saw how that went. We're also going to be getting Ari Aster's next movie, which is Beau is Afraid. I've been following this movie for a little bit. It was called Beau at one point, then Disappointment Boulevard, but now it's Beau is Afraid. It's starring Joaquin Phoenix, so just huge talent. I've no doubt this movie is going to be great, but for now I just haven't seen enough about it and just kind of don't know enough to get more excited, but I definitely will be getting more amped when we get a trailer, get a little more information, and see what's kind of going on. And then there's just kind of the ones that I'm a little bit more curious about than excited, which is Megan, which comes out in a couple days, and then also Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey, which who knows how they could be. They could be absolutely terrible. They could be a lot of fun. I don't think that by any means either of these are going to be highbrow in any way, but I'm sure that there's definitely entertainment value to both of them, so I guess we'll just see how they go. But now we're going to get into the list of my top 5. So coming in at number 5 is going to be M. Night Shyamalan's Knock at the Cabin. M. Night Shyamalan always provides these very unique setups, and he's very good at building mystery throughout his movies and kind of increasing the tension throughout until it builds to either an ending that's good and reframes everything that happened throughout the movie, or it could just completely blunder. And that's kind of why I feel like I can't have it higher, because the trailer looks really good, but the problem with it though is that you can't really trust that he's going to provide something quality. He's very hit or miss, unfortunately, but there's a lot I like about what he does. I love the Unbreakable Glass trilogy, even though I'm not really happy with the ending of Glass, but the rest of the series is very good. He also, of course, did The Sixth Sense. He has a good track record for horror. I think Old had a very good setup, and I didn't hate the ending as much as a lot of other people did, so I have a lot of faith in this, which similarly to Old just has a very interesting setup. So I'm excited to see this movie, and I hope it turns out good. Next up, I have Evil Dead Rise. I absolutely love the Evil Dead movies, and I'm excited to see this kind of change of pace with the movie taking place in a more metropolitan or urban area in the city, which is going to be cool to see the Deadites there. I probably would have rather have seen a sequel or a direct sequel to the remake, especially if you're not going to bring Bruce Campbell back. I feel like it just sets itself up better if you just take it from the sequel, but I also understand why they'd want to have a more clean slate. But there's a lot to be excited about with this. The stills look great. I have high hopes that they're going to keep the gore and everything in the horror practical, but yeah, definitely sitting pretty comfortably at number 4, Evil Dead Rise. For number 3 though, this is a sequel that I'm very excited about, Scream 6. I'm first of all just very happy that they're just calling it Scream 6 and not trying to do some bullshit rigmarole to kind of hide the fact that this is the 6th in the series. It is keeping with the continuity, but it also had this brand new reinvigoration with this, I guess now last year's Scream from 2022. So now that we have the new characters introduced, we have everything out of the way, we can kind of release the shackles of the legacy characters. And as much as I love Sydney, I would rather have her kind of just go off into the sunset and survive and be happy. I don't really want them to bring her back just to kill her. So now that you have these new characters established, they're in a new location, which I I think the New York setting is very cool. I'm very excited to see that. It just brings a lot of opportunities for Ghostface to have all these unique chase scenes. You also have that kind of interesting bystander effect where there's so many people in New York that people might be obliged not to help because of the bystander effect. You also have the idea that maybe they think it's a practical joke. I know parts of it at least take place on Halloween, as we saw in the teaser trailer, so there's just a lot for this director, I think, to sink their teeth into with this story. There's a lot of new territory that can kind of be explored with Ghostface. Love the idea of that new mask that's kind of just probably taken from an old crime scene or an old Ghostface killing spree, and I'm sure that it's all connected in some way. We're gonna figure everything out when we watch the movie, but for now, Scream 6, it looks amazing. Now, number 2 is also just a really exciting sequel. We're getting Insidious, Fear the Dark. It takes place years after the second movie. This is the first time since the second movie that we're really jumping forward in the timeline rather than taking a step back, which I'm happy about. I wouldn't be nearly as excited if we were just making another prequel. Like The Last Key was a little disappointing for me, as much as I liked 3. I think that the fact that it took a step back kind of counted against it, but it ended up still being a very good movie, and Leigh Whannell's just extremely talented, so it worked out anyway, but I would still rather see the story continue and go forward, and that's what we're having here. We get Patrick Wilson back, we get the entire cast, Rose Byrne, everyone's coming back, which I really want to see because I'd be very interested to see on how this family's kind of made out in the last 10 years since the second movie. Now Dalton is going to college, so that creates an interesting setup. Who knows what's going to bring either the red-faced demon back or just these ghosts and demons that come back into their lives, and I'm just excited to see how, especially since Patrick Wilson is directing. He was so intrinsically tied to those original movies that it would be very interesting to see his perspective on this franchise and kind of how he takes things. So yeah, Insidious 5, Fear the Dark, I'm really looking forward to it. But for number 1, this is definitely not going to be a lot of other people's number 1, but I'm going Saw X, Saw 10, whatever it's going to be called. There's not an official title yet, so we don't exactly know. I'm a huge fan of this franchise, and although I'm a little bit disappointed that we're not actually sticking to a story or a continuity that we set up in either Jigsaw or Spiral, preferably Spiral, I would really love to see where the story kind of goes after that, especially with Chris Rock's rivalry with this new version of Jigsaw, but that's okay. I think that Saw X is also a good move. I'm just always on board with whatever this franchise is doing, and I'm interested to see what they do. I kind of hope this is more of a closing of the book. Give Tobin Bell one last movie. We get Amanda back, and Kevin Grudert is directing it, who directed one of my favorite entries with Saw 6, so I have a lot of faith because it seems like he understands this character's ideology and his psychology, so I think there's something very promising there. I know a lot of people don't like the final chapter, which he also directed, but with 6, I feel like he really got a good handle on kind of testing his lessons and like his hypocrisy too, because obviously he's not a good guy, he's a killer. So I hope they kind of explore something similar in this new movie and kind of close the book on the character. I'd honestly, after this, rather see a full reboot because I don't really want to see just another setup with a new apprentice or something. We've just kind of been there, done that. We've done that the last 3 movies. Even in the final chapter, they just set up Gordon to be the new apprentice. So I think that maybe there should be some kind of acknowledgement that the people that actually survive usually don't get better. They either go crazy or they become an apprentice or something, like we've seen time and time again with Gordon, Amanda, with the Doctor and Jigsaw. So maybe kind of just bring the story full circle, focus on just making this a Jigsaw character study. Let Tobin Bell just have one last great Saw movie to be Jigsaw and be an extremely compelling character. Other than that, though, I'm very excited to see where this movie goes, and I really hope it turns out good. But for now, let me know what you guys are excited for 2023 in the comments section. I'd love to hear what you guys are thinking about. Definitely The Nun 2 is not on my radar as one of my most anticipated movies for this year, but maybe it is for you. Let me know. Have a good one.